Hello guys, welcome to Dylan's Little Hobbies, and in today's video we are going to be reviewing Evergreen. Violet Evergreen to be exact, and you know what? I really actually ended up loving the show. Now it's kind of funny because when I first started watching it, I really had no interest in it. The only reason why I watched it was because it was I think it was like a Saturday night. I had nothing to do. It was late, but I wasn't getting ready to go to bed. I just wanted to put something on, and there was Violet Evergreen from Netflix. And I figured, you know what? Netflix. Might as well watch it. I have it. I pay for it. Might as well watch something on Netflix tonight. So that's why I watched Violet Evergreen. And it's just funny because I ended up absolutely 100% loving the show. I mean, the animation is amazing, but more importantly, the story is jaw-dropping. It really is. It's really emotional. Something that I really just enjoyed about it was the fact that, you know, typically when a show, an anime, if you think of any type of show, the story revolves around this one character. Yes, that would be the main character. But, the show revolves around that one character too, and you also kind of go through that one character's perspective of the situation that the character's in. This show does something a little bit different. This show actually tells the perspective of people around the main character. And of course, Violet Evergreen learns her lessons, and we still go through that, but it's mostly, well, every single episode, the way it starts out is we typically meet somebody else who is just for the first time about to meet Violet Evergreen, and they're telling their story and their experience with Violet Evergreen. Typically, it would be the opposite. Typically, stories do around the main character's perspective, not everyone else's. And that was just something that I found different on the show, and it was very interesting. I really actually did enjoy it, and that's just one of the best parts. So, what is the actual story of Violet Evergreen? You know, again, no spoilers. I'm not going to spoil anything. I will tell you this: if you guys are an anime fan and you have Netflix and you haven't watched Violet Evergreen yet because you don't know if it's going to be any good, watch it, because I'm telling you, it is a fantastic show. It really is. And the animation is gorgeous. It has a really different, like I was talking about the perspective of characters, it has a really different feel to it. But what's really interesting is the story itself. So, Violet Evergreen was just a child picked up and thrown into the military. She grew up knowing nothing but war. In fact, something that I found really interesting about it is this show really hammers down the fact that she was a war hero and everything else, but she was bred for war and everything else. And you kind of think, is she a robot? You kind of, in the very beginning of the show, you really have a hard time figuring out whether or not she's a real person or not. You think, well, because everyone just calls her a weapon, you think, is she a robot? Is she an android? I mean, and the robot arms don't help at all, but the fact is, she, at the end of the war, got hurt. She got her arms, unfortunately, chopped off, and her arms were, of course, replaced with mechanical arms. And the thing is, she was bred for war. She really never grew up knowing emotions or anything like that. The war has just completely wrecked her mind. And now that the war is over, you don't know what, you don't know where she's gonna go. She doesn't know where she's gonna go. She doesn't know what's gonna happen to her. And you really get the perspective that this little girl is nothing but a machine. You seriously don't think that she is an actual girl with actual feelings and an identity. And that's the major thing. She really doesn't know what her true identity is, even though it's Violet Evergreen. The only thing that she really knows is what the captain told her. And the captain, Major, I can't exactly remember, I think it's the Major. So, Major, he loved her, and he told her in his last moments that he loved her, and she doesn't know what love is. So she makes it her life goal to try to understand feelings. More importantly, to try to understand what love is. Now, that's actually really philosophical and deep when you really think about it. And love, that is an emotion that even today, everyone just feels it. But to explain it is something that isn't pretty much impossible. Scientifically, you can tell you what love is, sure, but that's not what people feel. People don't feel the science of love. People feel love. And for this girl not to know what that is, the whole philosophical question of what love is just really interesting in the show. And of course, that leads her to want to write letters at apparently they have this thing called dolls, which are basically these people would take requests from other people and type in. It would be a job. Somebody would walk in there. They didn't know how to write, but they wanted to write a letter. So they would go in there. They would pay for one of these dolls to write a letter, and they would write like love letters and war letters and stuff like that. And Violet, wanting to know what love is, becomes a doll. And it's just really interesting because she, at first, you think she is a doll. She is a robot. She is a machine. You really don't know if they did a really excellent job at that. You really don't know if she's human. Of course she is, but you really just, you don't think that, a human could act like that, could act like a machine. And for her to learn how to become human again, to really learn what love is just something fascinating. The philosophical question, I could do an entire video on that. I'm probably not going to, because I'm probably not the right person to do a video like that. But it's just really, really fascinating. And Violet Evergreen is a fantastic show, because that is a very hard topic to talk about, and the way they talk about and capture it in this show is just amazing. It really, really is. Now, in terms of the shows, there's a couple of episodes that really stand out to me, that I guess you could call definitely my favorite episodes. The first one that really pops out at me was just the very first episode, when we first meet Violet Evergreen. You know how she's so machine-like, and you really don't know her backstory. We get a little hint of it. Of course, later on they tell it, but you really just think she's a machine. You don't think that she's human at all, and they did fantastic when showing that in that episode. And then the other two episodes, and I can't remember. I'll go ahead back and tell you guys the numbers and everything right here for it. But the next episode that really, really stood out to me was, and it was really interesting because this is the first time that we see Violet Evergreen ever have a true hard emotion. And I'm not going to spoil exactly what happens in this episode, but it's about this a little girl, and we start out with the little girl's perspective of Violet, and the little girl even thinks that Violet is nothing more but a doll, nothing more but a machine, a doll, is what she thinks she is. And it's funny, this little girl and her mother, unfortunately, her mother is, sick, and unfortunately, her mother is dying, and the fact is, this is the little girl's last moments with her mother. She knows that, and all she wants to do is play and hang out with her. Instead, she calls Violet Evergreen, the mother calls Violet Evergreen to write these letters, and her daddy's gone, her daddy's passed away in the war, so those letters couldn't be for him. Who are these letters for? She never figures it out. And of course, it's actually really hard to tell, but the letters are, eventually, by the end, you really, go like, when they reveal it, it's like, that makes perfect sense. These letters are for the little girl, but she doesn't know that. And all she thinks is, my mother is working hard on these stupid letters when she's about to die. Why won't she play with me? And it's just very, very saddening. And the emotion that comes out of both the little girl and especially Violet Evergreen is just amazing. And then of course, the little girl, after her mother died, Violet Evergreen wrote all of these letters, and all of these letters are going to be mailed to her daughter on her birthday for the next, like, 70 plus years or something like that. And it was just a really surprising ending with that episode. I absolutely loved that episode. The other episode that was really, really interesting to me was, there was this princess who wanted to marry this prince, from another land, you know, the war, the war was between these two lands. Now the war is over, and to fix a couple problems, this princess and prince has to marry. Now this princess and prince only met once, and the prince isn't exactly what you think a prince would be. And the princess, she tries to be royalty-like, but she's not really what you think of a princess either. And the number one thing that she wants to know is, well, what does he really want to know about me? Does he really like me? That's what she thinks. And of course, Violet Evergreen and the other writer for the prince are writing these letters, and they're just being written by professional love letter writers, right? And they're portrayed, they're given to the public, and they're like newsletters. They're given to the public, trying to get people to believe that these two really love each other. And Violet Evergreen, the princess is like, you know what? I just really want to know if he likes me or me. And Violet Evergreen makes a deal with one of her friends and decides to let the princess actually write the letter, and let the prince actually write his letter. So by the end of it, you find out that these two do love each other. But it's just interesting how the public view is versus what love really is. It was just fascinating because yeah, it's kind of a take on our more modern pop star love. You know, pop stars, you'll see them and love each other all the time, but behind the scenes, you have to really question. Behind closed doors, you really have to question how is their relationship actually is. Do they actually care for each other? That happens in the pop star world all the time. And this was kind of a version of that. I really, really enjoyed it. And then there was this other really, really amazing episode, and this is the last episode that I'll talk about. There was this guy, an opponent from the war, who just wanted a letter told to his parents before he passed away, and it just snowballed into this thing of Evergreen dealing with her own war-like problems. It was a really good episode. And in closing here, what I'll say is Violet Evergreen is a fantastic show with a lot of depth, a lot of emotion. And it's just so funny because Violet Evergreen, when you first meet her, she's anything but emotional. It's one of the best shows. It's one of the best shows, best animes that I've ever watched. No wonder why it was crowned one of the best animated animated TV shows of all time. And I really enjoy it. And if you guys have not watched it, and you're any little bit of an anime fan, I give it a look. Give it a look up. Especially, I think the only way I could watch it was on Netflix, but I'm pretty sure you can watch it somewhere else. Give it a look. It is a fantastic, amazing story. It really is. Thank you guys for watching, and I am out. Bye.